Welcome back to our series on how to teach your kids emotion regulation. And we talked about in the last video about explaining the brain, so hop on back to that video to see how you can engage your children in learning about what's happening inside of their brain as a strategy for emotion regulation. Today we are going to be talking about naming emotions and how important that just is. So emotion regulation really has a lot to do with emotional intelligence. It's step one in emotional intelligence, which is to know and understand one's own emotions. So we're going to talk about that today. Emotions happen in the limbic area in our brain. There's two almond-shaped structures in our brain called the amygdala. This is the emotion center, and it's in the middle part of your brain. Like I said, go and check out Explain the Brain video to learn more about that. But that's where it happens, and that's where children can learn that their emotions are firing. If you create a safe environment in your home to talk about feelings, it's going to help nurture EQ, emotional intelligence, in your kids. So first of all, we have to identify that feelings aren't good or bad. They just are, simply. A lot of us have been maybe in homes where we grew up in which negative emotions weren't okay to be expressed or talked about. First of all, let's take out the negative versus positive. This is the idea that they are good or bad. We can talk about emotions in a new way by saying there are pleasant emotions and there are unpleasant emotions. We have emotions that trigger us, make us feel uncomfortable, and that's okay. As parents, I first want you to just stop and pause this video and reflect on the home that you grew up in. Were emotions okay to be talked about? If they were uncomfortable, let's think about how that might impact your home and whether or not you can create a safe environment to talk about emotions in your home. It's okay if you came from a home like that. Just know it and maybe do a little introspection and self-exploration yourself to see where that came from and if that matches with goals that you have for your household and your family today. So feelings aren't good or bad, they just are. It's what you do with your feelings that makes the difference, and that matters the most. So one of the ways that you can engage your kids into naming their emotions is by naming them in the present moment. When you notice a mood change in your child, you can say, hey, I noticed you're feeling sad. Is that how you're feeling? We never want to tell children what they're feeling. We want to ask them, but we also want to validate the emotion by letting them know what we are seeing and allowing them to open up to be able to express them. Feelings such as anger, sadness, disappointment, guilt, shame, fear are difficult emotions to talk about. So give your child space to process those types of emotions. You can also model for your children what you're experiencing. Give them the language when they might notice the emotional environment in your home change. When you're frustrated, maybe you got a call that didn't go well, or you burnt something in the kitchen, or you've got frustrated and yelled at your child. Give those emotions names by saying, Mommy really is frustrated, or I'm feeling sad or disappointed. Help name them so your children can identify with them and experience them for themselves. You can also address emotions as you are living out daily life. You can get stories that would be helpful to express emotions and explain them to your kids. If you're reading a regular story, you can stop the reading and ask your child, what is that character feeling? How would you feel if you were in that situation? There's lots of games that you can buy. This is a memory game dealing with feelings. That is a great conversation starter. There's journals that you can help your child journal about the different emotions that they are experiencing. This is a new one and it's fabulous. All of these tools are on my website, so you can go to nurturingcharacters.com and to resources to find all these lovely tools to help you make a more comfortable space for your child to express emotions. We also encourage really young children with puppets. How are you feeling today, Miss Kristen? Don't worry, I'm not going to put you guys through that. But there are lots of ways that we can connect with our children about their emotions. Dr. John Gottman, researcher and marriage and family therapist, says that we can do feelings check-ins daily with our kids. We can create our own puppets using our own hands and talk about the primary basic emotions. There's also a video on my website and my Instagram so that you can check out how to do that. Sometimes people ask, how do I even start to have that conversation with my child? What you simply say is that our family wants to start being more open about talking about our feelings, and we want to get comfortable with expressing them and processing our emotions as they happen in our home. So every once in a while, we're going to talk about different emotions. We're going to talk about happiness. What made you feel happy in the day? Sadness, angry, scared, worried, disgusted, surprised. All of those basic emotions are really important, and you can do daily check-ins and just review them with your children. For older children, you don't have to pull out your puppet hands. You can just simply say, what are some feelings that you felt today? It might feel awkward at first, but as you get in a habit of talking about emotions, you're normalizing them and you're validating the experiences that your child are already experiencing. During moments of high intensity, you want to name them to tame them. Name the emotions to tame them. This works so well, especially for young kids. As we are creating a safe environment to talk about emotions, you can work with your children on expressing them in the moment. This actually activates the left part of the brain. The left part of the brain is your center for language and logic. So when you are asking the child to identify the emotion, even though they are wound up, frustrated, having a really hard time to express them, just by getting them to talk about their feeling can physiologically calm them down. Research proves that. The left side of the brain is also responsible for positive emotion, so engaging that part of the brain is going to be really important. If your child is too wound up to deal with this, there's lots of ideas and strategies that you can use when the intensity of the emotion is high. I have an article on my website that can also address this, and I will put that link down in the comment section or in the bio for Instagram. I hope you're not overwhelmed, friends. This is something you're probably already doing. Creating an emotional environment in your home, a safe place to talk about emotions, express them appropriately, and to process them is part of emotional intelligence. And it's a key strategy to encourage your children to self-regulate with their emotions.